You do it for edge rushers, and you've got your tiers, you've got your top 5. You made some noise yesterday because one of the guys that everybody has at the top, you've got at the bottom of your top 5. We'll get to that. Let's start with the top, though. Tyree Wilson, your only tier 1 guy, Texas Tech. Tell me what made you put him there.
Mike, this is like, I mean, I have a line in my thing like no-brainer, duh. Like this is not really like a discussion. I mean, do you like some of the freakiest people on earth? Do you like guys that are 270 pounds and have wingspans that are better than the Greek freak in basketball, but yet can like run like an NFL receiver? This is a Myles Garrett type of guy right here, Mike. This is clearly the best edge pass rusher in the draft. He's your guy that, yes, can lead the NFL in sacks for a number of years. But, yes, this one is, not only the size, the film, the specimen itself, it all matches up to where you go, yeah, this is back to the days of he's got a Myles Garrett body, but Nick Bosa coming out, like definitely the first edge guy off the board. I don't think that'll even be a shocker when time comes here in 16 days.
It took me a few seconds to realize that someone's standing behind him with their arms out too, and then I had this moment of, man, if you had 4 arms, you really would be a much more effective pass rusher.
They can't block this guy. He's got hair. He's got unbelievable hands.
He does. All 4 of them. But yes, that is quite a wingspan for Tyree Wilson, and it does make him number 1. We sat with him.
Yes,
at the
he's
combine,
great.
Right?
He was great. Yes, yeah. We sat with him and Will Anderson. They were both awesome people. But yes, this is a guy that's. Again, these are rare. This is rare. This is a Simeon Rice type of body. This is that kind of guy. To me, this is every now and then this kind of pass rusher comes about. And he's got it all, Mike. Bend, great first step, can just run you over. He plays hard. He runs through people, tackling them. I mean, he's unblockable. He's a man against boys. And I think that'll continue in the NFL.
You've got 3 guys on your tier 2, Lucas Van Ness, Nolan Smith, and Will McDonald the 4th. Let's start with Van Ness. How does he end up at number 2 for you?
He's the versatility of the player, right? Think about it like a J.J. Watt-ish as far as the type of player. I'm not going to call him J.J. Watt, but they're talking about a guy that's got some freaky attributes about him. I mean, he runs 4.5, and he's 270-something pounds, and his strength is off the charts when you watch him on film, Mike. This isn't maybe going to be your totally traditional lineup wide like a Myles Garrett in pass rush, right? It's going to be some of that. It's going to be in a 3-4 scheme. It's going to be a little bit like, hey, we want you to get right over the tackle and play head up, which was J.J. Watt was asked to do a lot. Hold them, disengage, go either way. Oh, hey, this down, we need you a 3 technique on the 4-3 scheme, and we want you to be a mismatch for, a guard in the third. He can do a little bit of everything. He's a great athlete with insane play strength. He's got pass rush intangibles with big-time defensive tackle strength on the inside, Mike. So it's the versatility of the player, let alone the physical talent and the size of the player that ultimately make him the number 2 guy.
One of those guys, though, that won't have as many sacks as an edge rusher.
Exactly right.
Strictly on the outside, but you look elsewhere for the impact, the play up, the unofficial.
Exactly.
Chris Sims,
right.
F the play up. That's where he can come in handy. How about Nolan Smith? 4.39 in the 40-yard dash, second fastest by a defensive lineman since 2003. What do you think about him that caused him to be a number 3 on your list?
Yeah, I think if think of the mold, like I like to throw out molds of players, right? Hassan Reddick, right? That's who we're talking about when you're kind of talking about a Nolan Smith. That's what you'd hope he could be, or maybe even a Von Miller. That's the ultimate ceiling. We know Von Miller's going to the Hall of Fame. We know that. But what I mean by that is, like, this is the most explosive guy off the ball, off the edge. You know, the guy that can get down and turn the corner, Mike, like a speed skater. And you're like, damn, he's turning the corner and his right shoulder's like a foot off the ground as he has a 300-pounder pushing him and he's turning around the edge. So he has that type of body movement. He's a freak athlete. And as you see right here, this is why the Georgia guys are filming him, because they've seen it and they were like, man, Nolan's about to go. And he's going to run 4.3 because he's been beating our receivers and running backs in races for the last few years. Let's watch this. And he's a specimen. He is a true explosive specimen, Mike, that has got some superstar qualities about him.
All right, Will McDonald comes in at number 4, bottom of your tier 2, the Iowa State edge rusher. What'd you like about him?
Yeah, this guy is like a football player. Maybe you talk about pound for pound, as strong as anybody you get in the draft, Mike. I mean, he's playing defensive tackle in good parts of games at 240 pounds, and he's dominating. But this is more of a Leonard Floyd type, Mike. This is a guy that's going to be an awesome outside linebacker, defensive end. It's not necessarily always going to lend itself to leading the NFL in sacks, but just like Leonard Floyd last year, or most years, he's going to be right around 10 sacks, 9.5, 10.5, 8 sacks, while also being like one of the best edge run defenders in football, and then being incredible also in dropping back in coverage with athleticism and wingspan and all that. So you see the guy here. He's like a praying mantis on the football field, and quite impressive. And really, Mike, high ceiling but very high floor. To me, that's where, you know, these top top 4 guys, they're all pretty safe as far as they got high ceilings, high floor. Nolan Smith is maybe the one guy, because of the size, that you go has a little lower floor than the rest of these guys so far.
That's the key, though, the floor. What type of a risk are you taking?
Exactly.
Versus the reward. And the less the risk, the more you can justify rolling the dice on maybe getting the high-end, game-changing MVP caliber, or at least defensive player of the year caliber type of a pass rusher. And that takes us to Will Anderson. That's the guy that a lot of people regard as the best of the bunch. You got him at number 5. And you know, when you go against the grain of groupthink, you get called out.
Sure.
What caused you to put Anderson behind the other 4 guys?
Listen, Mike, this is easy. This is one of those where I want to push back in a big way. I want to go, I don't know what you could have watched to ever think that this was the first pick of the draft. There's no way. There's no way. Like, he's a good football player. There's no doubt. He has nothing that shows you that he is going to be a top-tier pass rusher in football. He's just not that explosive. You know, he doesn't throw people around that way. He's a good football player. Don't get me wrong, Mike. We're talking about a guy that's certainly, you know, a first rounder. I know that. But this is where earlier in our show, right? It's just the hype train. He's the number one recruit. He goes to Alabama. They're good. He's really good, right? And it just is, so he's got to be the number 1 pick. And, you know, like, this is one where, again, I'm not like being cute, or this is not one where I feel like, ooh, you know, like, hey, I understand that a lot of people are going to like this guy, and I don't love him, and I'm a little different. This is one where I go, no, you're going to watch the film and go, how do you think he's as good as any of those? I would be shocked if he doesn't fall, right? I would be shocked. And I know in my NFL world that I think my thought is closer to the reality as compared to NFL media world that all has him as the number 1 pick or the top 3 pick or all that. I've had enough people reach out to me already.
Why do you think that disconnect is there? Where does that come from? Then?
Because it's like it happens a lot. It's the team. It's the hype around Alabama. He was SEC Player of the Year, and then his stats are really good, Mike. But like we always talk about, stats and production, it's an overrated word. I want to see disruption and, you know, elite physical traits. And I would question with people with Will Anderson, I just go, what is it that he does elite? It's not an elite first step. It's not elite bend. It's not elite power. He's not elite fast. So that's the number 1 pick of the draft. You know, he's got sacks, but you watch sacks too, Mike. Again, not all sacks are created equal, right? I could show you sacks of some of the other guys like Tyree Wilson, and he's just unblockable. Guys, there's 2 guys on him, and he's like, Will Anderson sacks more times than not, or the quarterback held the ball for 5 seconds, nobody was open, and he got a sack. The quarterback got flushed out of the pocket by somebody else. He ran him down and got a sack. So, yeah, those are great stats, and we can all say production, but I don't see that as translating to a big-time way in the NFL. I hate to talk about this in a negative way because this is a good player, but this is the jump-off spot, and this has become the groupthink guy, and I'm different here in that way.
Well, and you know what? At some point, somebody needs to tell Will Anderson that you shouldn't listen.
No, it's not fair.
Media pundits, because there's a chance you are going to slide. Because, look, and that's the most important thing a good agent can do for a player in the draft pool is let him know where he's going to be drafted. What's your ceiling? What's your floor? What do you need to be ready for? You need to pierce through that as the agent. You need to cut through the noise. And you don't rely on what the draft experts say. You rely on what the teams say. And again, the teams are going to keep their mouths shut as long as they can because they want one team. All it takes is one team. Go ahead, take Will Anderson. Push one of the other guys down to us.
Exactly.
We don't want to take him. We want one of the other 4 guys. So they're going to keep their mouths shut as best they can.
That's right. And again, I want to make sure I'm clear here. This is a good football player. There's no doubt. But I just think it's crazy that he was ever thought as the number 1 pick or even put there. And it's not fair to him. It's a little like the Michael Mayer kid, the tight end from Notre Dame. Everybody just called him Gronk. And I want to go, this is not a fair expectation. It's not. It's too high of an expectation. But yes, he's been thrown out there. And, Mike, let me just throw this out there, too, just to give myself a little credence here. Because as I'm going through my rankings on Saturday, right, and I'm done watching everybody, and now I'm going, okay, let me finalize, and I'm going, let me just go back and watch my top 5, 6 guys again and get a feel, right? I'm reading my report, and I'm going, this is just, it doesn't read that well. It's underwhelming when it comes to this. So I started to text friends around the league. I got 5 or 6 guys that I always kind of text, just like, hey, and I throw his name out there. Like, hey, am I missing something? Because I have in my notes a few times, like, wait, where did I write it? I got question marks where like, wait, I said, hey, am I missing something? I don't get it. He's got good strength. He's pretty quick, right? But I'm not like, wow. It's not wow top 5 special good. Speed to power is just okay. It's not wow good. Bend is good, but not wow. And I started to say that. And I got the sense that, like you're talking about, people were kind of like, yeah, we kind of feel the way you do, but we like the hype out there, so let it go.
That's the way it goes, and we'll find out
we'll
in 16
see. You're
days
right.
where Will Anderson goes, along with everyone else, assuming they all go in round 1. We'll see. There they are. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.